You don't save a company for applause. At least that's what you tell yourself, while the coffee goes cold on your desk and the fluorescent lights hum like a headache. No parade, no bonus, no heartfelt thanks, just a Slack ping with 3 new tasks and a reminder to keep the momentum going. The crisis hit like a slow-moving train. One client pulled out, then another. Marketing blamed sales. Sales blamed product and product. Well, they just stopped replying. You didn't panic. You stayed late. You rewrote the onboarding flow, rebuilt the projections from scratch, talked 2 enterprise accounts off the ledge, and pitched in on design, even though it wasn't your job. You weren't trying to be a hero. You just didn't want to watch it all burn down. No one else stepped up. You did. Every late night, every patched hole, every piece of duct tape and spreadsheet magic you conjured, it worked. The board backed off. Clients stayed. Revenue ticked back upward. And still, not a word. So you kept going. You told yourself it was about integrity. Quiet pride. Something noble like that. Until the morning they wheeled in a balloon arch and popped champagne in the atrium. You weren't invited to the ceremony, but you wandered close enough to hear them clapping. "To our new head of strategy," someone said. There she was, sleek, bright-eyed, not a day over 25. Fresh perspective, murmured the CEO, arm around her shoulder. You checked your calendar just in case you'd missed a meeting. You didn't miss anything. The girl with the sparkling dress and shiny business cards had your title. You smile politely when your coworker leans in and whispers, "Didn't you basically invent that role during the crisis?" You nod once, slow, still holding your coffee, still blinking like maybe if you blink hard enough, it'll make sense. It doesn't. Later in the bathroom, you sit on the closed toilet seat with your blazer folded in your lap. Not crying. Not exactly. Just processing. It's like watching someone else's movie, but somehow you're the one getting written out of the script. The office shifts around you. Conversations drop off when you walk by. People aren't unkind exactly. They're just careful. Like you've become contagious. Like they're watching to see if you'll explode or dissolve. You do neither. You just go back to your desk, open your laptop, pull up your roadmap file, and start taking notes. Not for her benefit. Not to play along. For you. There's something growing under your ribs. Not bitterness, not quite. Something quieter. A slow, steady pulse of clarity. They made a mistake. They just don't know it yet. You stand in the back during the celebration, barely visible behind a potted plant and a half-deflated balloon. The CEO's voice booms with pride, introducing her daughter Ashley as an innovator with fresh vision. You almost laugh. Ashley hasn't been in a single product review budget meeting or stakeholder call. She's not even in the Slack channel where most decisions get made. You were. Every single day. There's a moment small, easy to miss, where she looks right at you. A flicker of recognition or maybe guilt. But then it's gone smoothed over by a wide, camera-ready smile as the photographer snaps their staged embrace. You excuse yourself before the clapping ends. On the walk back to your desk, your stomach knots so tight, it feels like you're digesting gravel. The hallway posters shout about teamwork and accountability. The irony tastes metallic. When you sit down, your laptop greets you with a meeting invite. Welcome strategy session with Ashley. Mandatory. Scheduled for 9 a.m. Monday. Your fingers hover over the mouse. Except, what else can you do? Over the weekend, you try to distract yourself. You walk the park trail you like. Watch the leaves drift. but your mind keeps replaying that moment. The way the CEO beamed like he'd just invented her, the way everyone clapped, like they'd forgotten you existed. You write an email you never send. It begins, "Dear Board," and ends. But maybe next time, you could try thanking the person who actually did the work. You save it in drafts. You name the file later. Monday arrives like a slap. You walk into the conference room at 8:58 a.m. Ashley is already there, legs crossed, sipping a turmeric latte like it's a Vogue shoot. She doesn't look nervous. She looks like she's been told her whole life that the room belongs to her. "Hi," she says brightly, standing and extending a manicured hand. "You must be... She snaps her fingers, frowning playfully. "You know, my dad told me about you. You're like the numbers person." You shake her hand. It's limp. Her grip says, "You're safe. You're small." The meeting begins. You expect her to fumble. You even hope for it a little. But instead, she talks in circles, buzzwords, stacked like building blocks made of air. Growth acceleration, synergy alignment, vision verticals. She clicks through a deck clearly made by someone else, half reading, half performing. It would be funny if it weren't your life. By minute 30, you stop taking notes. No one asks for your input. No one even looks your way, except when Ashley giggles and says, "I know you've been doing this for like forever, so feel free to correct me." You don't correct her. You smile, small, neutral, observing. Afterward, a coworker catches you in the hallway. She's harmless, they say, eyes flicking around. It's just politics. Ride it out. You nod, but you don't agree. It's not just politics. It's erasure, and you're not riding anything out. You're watching, quietly, memorizing the rhythm of her voice, the gaps in her logic, the names she forgets, the teams she misquotes, the concepts she misuses. If she wants to play this game, fine. You'll be the one holding the rule book. The days blur together in a strange kind of theater. You arrive early, stay late. You brief her before meetings fix her slides, translate her whims into action items. Everyone knows you're the engine behind her title, but no one says it. Not aloud. Ashley floats through the office, like she's on rails, always perfectly dressed, always flanked by some sycophant. Her job becomes acting like she's running things. Your job becomes making sure she doesn't crash them. One afternoon, she calls you into a meeting you weren't invited to. "Could you just sit in and take notes?" she asks, flashing a practiced pout. "I need your brain, obviously, but like background brain. Silent brain. Your ears burn, but you nod, smile. You take your place in the corner and open your laptop. You type her mistakes word for word. You timestamp every lie, every dodge, every misuse of basic strategy terms. You catalog it all. When the meeting ends, she waves at you like a pet. You're the best. I don't know how people used to work without you. That night, you stay in the office after everyone leaves. You pour yourself a paper cup of stale coffee and reread your notes. You start a new folder on your personal drive. You name it Sunshine, because her rain won't last forever. You're not planning anything. Not yet. You're just aware, preparing, the way you do when you sense a storm. Let the sky stay clear. Let her think she's safe. You'll be here beneath the surface where the real work gets done. And when it's time, you won't have to raise your voice. You'll just open the file. It starts with a spilled coffee and a misclick. You're in the break room, elbow deep in your inbox, balancing your mug on one knee, while trying to filter out noise from Signal. Ashley breezes in, dumps a venti cup on the counter, and disappears into a call. In the shuffle, you hear the unmistakable sound of her phone buzzing on the table. She's left her laptop open. You're not planning to snoop. You don't need to. Because just as you reach for your own mug, her Slack tab dings twice, then 3 times in quick succession. Your eyes land on the screen. The message preview shows a familiar name, Greg Dad's EA. The subject line, RE cover the dip. Just adjust the Q2 chart again. The words dig in like a splinter. You glance at the hallway. Empty. Your hands act faster than your conscience. 2 clicks, and a keyboard shortcut later, the screen reveals more than it should. A private Slack channel. Fewer than 5 members. Ashley. Greg. A data analyst you haven't seen in weeks. The messages scroll by like confessions. Ashley. Can we bump our retention numbers by 2 piadillas? Just for the board deck. It's not like they read the source. Greg. Yeah, I'll clean it. But don't send it from your account this time. Ashley. Ha, ha, ha. Oops. You know me. You screenshot everything. Your heart pounds like a warning bell, but your hands are steady. This isn't some mistake. This is strategy. Her strategy. She's not clueless. She's careless. And she thinks no one is watching. You send the screenshots to your personal email. Label them red folder. Tuck them inside your private Sunshine drive. Encrypt the folder. Then you close her laptop and wipe the coffee ring from the table. She returns a minute later and doesn't notice a thing. Just like always. You start asking quiet questions. Not to the higher-ups. Not yet. You know better than to bring matches into a room full of gasoline. Instead, you talk to the ones who stay late. The ones who used to have opinions until it stopped being safe to share them. It begins in the kitchen over microwaved leftovers. Hey, you say casually to Marcus from product. Did you ever get that feedback loop fixed in Ashley's Q2 rollout? He snorts into his container of Thai noodles. What rollout? That was your work, wasn't it? You don't nod. You just look at him. He shrugs, then glances at the door. She said I wasn't being solution forward enough. Next thing I know, my roadmap's wiped. You tap your fork against your container. You're not the only one. The next day, you drop by legal under the guise of checking a procurement clause. You bring coffee. You bring curiosity. How long's Ashley been on the decision-making list for vendor contracts? You ask Anna, half joking. Feels like she's skipping some red tape. Anna frowns. She shouldn't even have access. That requires clearance and legal review. You leave with more than you came for. You start making a mental map. Names, dates, incidents swept under the rug, comments walked back in public. One by one, the picture sharpens. She's not just incompetent. She's dangerous. And the scariest part? No one's stopping her. Because stopping her would mean admitting she shouldn't have been given power in the first place. That's not something this company's good at. So you become the memory they tried to delete. The version control. The living audit trail. You don't speak up. Not yet. You're still listening, but not for long. It happens at a bar called Atlas, one of those rooftop places with string lights, overpriced cocktails, and the faint hum of regret. You almost skip it. A farewell drink for an old coworker who got pushed out quietly, like you almost were. But something pulls you there. You spot her near the railing. Sarah. She'd vanished 6 months ago. Rumor was she'd burned out, but nobody really knew. You raise your glass. Didn't expect to see you here. She smiles, tired but real. Didn't expect to come. But I heard you were still here. Thought I should warn you. You lean in. The noise of the bar fades. She did the same thing to me, Sarah says. Ashley promised me a role that didn't exist. Took my workflow, my pitch deck, even my design mock-ups, and refined them. Then I was labeled difficult. Your stomach drops. Why didn't you say anything? She laughs dry. I did. They told me I wasn't collaborative enough. You both sip in silence for a moment. The city spreads out beneath you. So many windows. So many stories. I thought maybe I imagined it, you murmur. Sarah turns to you, eyes sharp. You didn't. That's how she works. She buries you politely. You stare down at your drink, then back up at her. What would you do differently? I'd keep everything. Every note. Every version. Every message. Build the timeline they can't ignore. Because when it turns fast. She presses something into your hand, an old USB drive. What's this? Her original contract. With red lines. It's not legal. No one checked. I was too tired to fight it then. But maybe you won't be. You pocket the drive. You don't say thank you. You just nod. Because now it's real. You stay up until 3 a.m., scrolling through rows of numbers and PDFs, like a gambler watching horses. Sarah's USB drive is a treasure chest of contradictions. Misaligned dates. Contract signed after service. Start dates. Expense reports. Padded with client dinners that never happened. You don't sleep much that week. Instead, you dive into quarterly performance metrics. You compare Ashley's self-published decks to the actual figures buried in the ERP system. It doesn't take long to see the pattern cherry-picked metrics, omitted losses presentations that spin disasters into pivot successes. You check the access logs. Only 3 people could have tampered with the dashboards. One of them is you. One is Greg. The third Ashley. You screenshot everything. Time-stamped. Watermarked. Labeled. You open a spreadsheet and begin to align the lies. Client A said to be re-engaged. In truth, no activity in 10 weeks. Client B claimed deal signed. CRM shows negotiation. Stalled. Internal survey. 96% team morale. But you find the raw data. It's 63%. Morale dipped the moment she took over. You don't trust your company's whistleblower form. You don't even trust HR, but you trust math, so you build your version of the story. Not with words, with cells and graphs and pivots that don't lie. The kind of story where the only conclusion left is, this wasn't a mistake. It was a con, and for the first time, you're not angry. You're focused, because revenge doesn't need rage. It needs clarity, and you finally have it. You walk into HR like you're carrying groceries instead of a detonator. The folder is clean, polite. No accusations, just facts. Charts with source links. Screenshots labeled by date. You've even color-coded the financial inconsistencies to show exactly where Ashley's version of the truth diverges from reality. The HR director smiles like she's happy to see you, offers you water, asks about your weekend. You hand her the folder. The smile fades as she flips through the first few pages. I'm not here to make trouble, you say, calm and measured. I'm here to tell the truth. She nods slowly. This is detailed. You know what that means. It means undeniable, or so you think. She says she'll review and elevate as appropriate. You leave feeling like you've set something important in motion. But 3 days later, nothing changes. Ashley's still there. Still smiling, still flaunting metrics you know are false. The dashboards haven't been corrected. No one calls you in for follow-up. When you ask HR for an update, you get a carefully worded email that ends with, It's important to maintain team cohesion. Then the real blow, a meeting with your director. You sit across from him while he avoids eye contact and reads from a note. We're concerned your recent focus on Ashley's performance might be affecting your collaboration with leadership. You blink. Are you saying I'm the problem? He leans back. No one's saying that. We're just asking you to trust the process. The room feels smaller now, like the walls have moved in an inch. You nod once, smile once, then you leave. You already know the process, and you don't trust it. You stop trying to be heard and start trying to be smart. No more emails, no more formal complaints. You already learned that playing fair in a crooked game just makes you the fool. So now, you play a different game, a longer one. You switch into what you call ghost mode. You reply politely. You help Ashley when asked. You give nothing away. And quietly, you keep collecting every weird email phrasing, every off-the-record comment. Every time Ashley takes credit for something she didn't touch, you log it. Not in company drives, not in Slack, on your home server, with backups in 3 different locations. You even get strategic with your presence. You let her take the spotlight in meetings, nodding along like a loyal lieutenant. When she's wrong, spectacularly wrong, you don't correct her publicly. You just ask small questions afterward, in emails that look helpful, but double as subtle receipts, just confirming the Q3 projections, assume 18% growth, despite churn rate trends from June looping finance in. Would love to validate that $4 pipeline figure, just for clarity. You don't raise alarm. You sow questions. Doubt grows best when it feels like curiosity. At night, you reread old performance reviews. You find a line from your manager that says, "You're the most dependable strategist we've ever had." It stings now, not because it's false, but because it didn't matter. But the thing about being dependable is you know how to wait. You know how to build something that lasts. Ashley's built a house of glitter and glue, and you're laying bricks, one email at a time. Sometimes power comes from the places no one sees. His name is Leo. He's an intern with a quiet walk and a hoodie 2 sizes too big. He works in data ops, mostly ignored by the rest of the team. You always made a point to say good morning, to ask if he needed help when the system tickets piled up. That kindness becomes currency. One evening, while everyone else is at Ashley's rooftop Team Synergy social, you're still at your desk. So is Leo. He hovers by your cubicle awkward. Then he clears his throat. "Hey," he says. "I know this is weird, but do you know she has a second Slack channel?" You look up, calm, curious. "She asked me to set it up," he continues. "Private off the books. Said it was for pre-legal planning. But she's sharing stuff, client names, budget drafts, even personal HR docs. Like confidential stuff. You don't ask why he's telling you. You already know. People sense things. They feel the weight of what's wrong even if they don't say it. "Can you show me?" you ask. He nods. You see it with your own eyes. A shadow workspace. Fewer than 10 members. Conversations that feel both arrogant and panicked. "Ashley, let's reframe the churn numbers as elevated engagement volatility. Sounds less fatal. Greg Board might push back. Want me to tweak the deck again, Ashley?" "Yeah. And delete that note from finance. Looks too aggressive." Leo gives you access logs. He encrypts a copy. He doesn't say what you both know this could sink her. You thank him. You don't say much else. But later in your apartment, you open your Sunshine folder, and you add a new file. Its title, Ace. You don't need to yell to start an avalanche. You just have to whisper in the right place. You choose your moment with precision and internal company newsletter draft. You're listed as the editor, but Ashley submitted her usual self-congratulatory blurb, calling herself a strategic transformation leader. It's fluff as usual, but this time, you add a tiny, harmless-looking footnote. Project Liftoff Insights independently verified by cross-functional contributors. It links to a shared drive, inside a single data chart. Real numbers. The original ones. The ones before she inflated them. No commentary, no accusations, just quiet truth. It spreads faster than you expect. People click. They notice. A few comment in Slack threads, not direct confrontations, but enough to plant seeds. These don't match last week's team deck. Did the engagement forecast shift again? Can someone explain this discrepancy? Ashley doesn't reply. She doesn't even know it's you. Then you start feeding her tiny mistakes. In a doc revision, you accidentally leave in the wrong revenue figure. She copies it without checking, sends it to the COO. You watch as she's called into a surprise meeting and emerges pale, biting the inside of her cheek. Next, you let her misquote a partner's quote in a press piece. It backfires. The partner demands a retraction. People stop smiling when she enters the room. She tries to pivot, announcing a new strategic sprint to reassert herself. But she forgets a simple principle. Momentum is delicate, and you've redirected hers. You haven't lied once. You haven't raised your voice. You've just shifted the spotlight 1 inch to the left, and now the cracks are visible. It's a gala, the kind with glossy programs, rented centerpieces, and a CEO desperate to look innovative. Ashley's the keynote speaker. You're seated near the back with the ops team dressed in your best neutral expression. She takes the stage like it's hers. Microphone clipped. Dress tailored to perfection. Her smile is immaculate. Her voice bright rehearsed. You already know what's coming. Buzzwords. Brags. Her favorite narrative, how she spearheaded a new digital transformation initiative. You sip your wine and wait. Then it happens. Midway through the second slide, she glances down at her notes and freezes. The numbers are wrong, not just slightly off wildly. The slide shows an impossible metric 212% year-over-year growth in a category that hasn't moved in months. You know because you helped pull the real report. The one with the flat line. The one she never opened. A murmur rolls through the room. Ashley stumbles. She tries to recover. Just a formatting error. Her voice wobbles. Let's skip ahead to our user engagement. Click. The next slide mislabels a client name. It's a competitor's. A big one. You watch her eyes dart to the edge of the room, searching for help that won't come. The COO folds her arms. A board member whispers something to the CEO. Your ops table sits very, very still. Ashley rushes the rest of her talk. The applause at the end is polite, strained. No one makes eye contact with her as she descends the steps. You don't move. You don't need to. The damage is done, not by malice, by truth. You never touched her slides. All you did was remove the guardrails, let her shine unfiltered, and everyone saw exactly what she was. You return to the office the next morning, and something's different. Not louder, not dramatic, but quieter. People pause when she passes now, but they don't smile as wide. The casual compliments, she's such a rising star, so poised, have vanished. You hear whispers faint as rainfall. She didn't know the product timeline. That growth stat wasn't that yours. Did she really say, they're removing retention friction? You don't start the rumors. You don't need to. You just keep doing your job. A product manager stops by your desk with 2 coffees. He says nothing, just sets one down, nods once, and walks away. Later, a senior developer casually loops you in on a thread Ashley's name should have been on. Thought you'd know what to do with this. And then there's Carol from legal. You've never had a real conversation, but she passes you in the hallway and murmurs, "Just FYI, her override on contract 3172 invalid." You didn't hear it from me. Even Greg, faithful Greg, seems twitchy. He avoids your eyes, takes calls behind closed doors. You don't smile, not even inside, because this isn't victory, it's exposure. You're watching a mirror crack from the inside. What was once protected by polish and privilege is now vulnerable. Human. Messy. She still holds the title. Still walks around like nothing's changed. But everything has. The silence is starting to favor you. The illusion is starting to collapse. And the most powerful tool in your arsenal is still untouched. You haven't used the real evidence yet. You're just letting gravity work. It finally happens at a pitch meeting. You're seated at the far end of the table, mostly observing. The room is full product heads, finance, legal, even a couple of board members dialing in. Ashley is front and center, ready to sell the company's latest initiative to a potential flagship client. You know the client. You onboarded them 2 years ago. Built the very framework Ashley is about to take credit for. She clicks to her deck with flair. Launches into her spiel user growth engagement cycle's long-term ROI. She's good at this part. The rhythm, the tone, the illusion of expertise. But then she says something you didn't expect. She blames you. "We had some hiccups in the initial prototype," she says, glancing in your direction. Unclear guidance from the original architect. But I cleaned that up. You hear it like a thunderclap. There's a beat of silence. You look at the client rep. His brow furrows. Then he speaks. "I'm sorry. Weren't you the one who said that framework was your idea 6 months ago?" Ashley blinks. Strategically, yes. I shaped it. But it needed corrections. He nods slowly. "That's strange. Because I have an email from you asking how it worked." You see it on her face, the instant unraveling. She reaches for words. There are none. The COO leans forward. "Ashley, is this the first time you're hearing that client interaction contradicted your previous report?" The room turns colder than a locked freezer. Ashley opens her mouth, closes it. The silence is exquisite. You don't say a word. You don't need to. She did the damage all by herself. The boardroom is quieter than usual when you enter. You weren't invited, you were requested. A formal email from the COO, followed by a calendar placeholder labeled Performance Alignment Review. Ashley is already seated when you arrive. Hands folded, posture stiff. Her face is pale beneath a layer of foundation, the kind of calm that only holds when no one touches it. You take your seat at the far end directly across from the CEO. He doesn't smile. The COO clears her throat. "We've received several conflicting reports about recent project leadership and data reporting. Today, we'd like clarity." You say nothing at first. You take a breath, slow, intentional. Then you open your laptop and share your screen. This is the original onboarding framework for our enterprise clients. You begin voice steady. Created 2 years ago. Iterated in-house. Here's the version history. Here are the timelines. Here are the Slack messages and commit logs. Click. This is the board deck Ashley sent out last quarter. Here are the discrepancies revenue projections that don't align with CRM logs. User growth extrapolations that ignore churn. Here's the real data pulled directly from the system. Click. And this, you say, is a message from a private Slack channel She used to coordinate falsification of those metrics. Provided by an intern, she pressured into setting it up off record. You don't turn to look at her. You don't need to. The silence in the room is electric. The COO leans forward. "Ashley, would you like to respond?" Ashley's jaw tightens. This is clearly a personal vendetta. You tilt your head. "Is that your official position?" She hesitates, and that's all it takes. The board doesn't argue. The CEO doesn't defend her. No shouting, no drama. Just silence. And then a single line from legal. "We'll need to pause her access immediately." The next morning, her desk is empty. No announcement. No Slack ping. No farewell lunch with sheet cake and paper plates. Just a quiet space, where her laptop used to be a forgotten scarf draped over the back of her chair, like a ghost she forgot to take with her. The hallway buzzes softly, but no one mentions her name. It's like the entire office agreed to skip that page in the story. You pass Greg on your way to the kitchen. He offers a nod, but avoids eye contact. Later, you hear he requested a transfer to the satellite office. For a change of pace, someone mutters. You know better. In the privacy of your apartment, you delete the Sunshine folder. Every screenshot, every spreadsheet, the encrypted backup on your personal drive. Gone. You're not keeping trophies. You didn't do this to win. You did it because the truth once ignored had to find its way back. The company doesn't make a formal statement, but the internal news circulates. Ashley is taking a leave of absence. Not terminated, not fired, but gone. The CEO doesn't look at you for a week. The COO does, and one afternoon she invites you to a private meeting. No calendar placeholder this time, just a knock on your desk and a quiet, "Got a minute?" Inside the glass room, she sits across from you, fingers steepled. "You kept this place from going off a cliff," she says evenly. "We know." You say nothing. She continues. "There'll be changes. You'll be consulted. It's not an apology, not a promotion, but it's a beginning." You nod once. Then you walk out of the room, not vindicated, just whole again. The chair across from yours stays empty for a week. No replacement. No interviews. Just silence. And the occasional awkward glance from passers-by, like the ghost of her presence still lingers. You move your files to the shared drive. You reassign tasks that once funneled through her. No one questions it. They just adapt. One morning, your manager stops by and says, "We'd like you to consider resuming your previous scope." He says it carefully, like someone offering a gift they once took away. You smile neutral. "I never really stopped." The offer comes with a new title, a new comp package, a long overdue acknowledgement presented like a prize, but tasting faintly of cleanup. You say yes, not because it fixes anything, but because it gives you room to lead without fear, room to build without pretense, room to breathe. Still, it feels different now. You don't walk into meetings the same way. You listen longer. You speak less. Not out of shyness, but out of understanding. You know what's at stake. How fragile the truth can be. One day someone asks if you miss the fire, the need to prove yourself, the thrill of clawing back respect. You don't, because that version of you, the one who stayed up nights, sharpening her own silence into a weapon, that version is gone. In her place, someone quieter, sharper, more dangerous in stillness. You sit at your desk, looking at the city through the window, watching the afternoon settle into shadow. And for the first time in months, your heartbeat isn't armor. It's just yours again. You run into her again. Not at the office she never returned, but in line at a cafe near downtown. It's raining. You both forgot umbrellas. You spot her just as she sees you. For a moment you expect her to turn around, to duck out. But she doesn't. She steps forward, orders a latte, then waits beside you. You nod once. She nods back. Her makeup is lighter now, her hair undone. There's something quieter about her, less staged. You got what you wanted, she says finally. It's not bitter, not quite, just resigned. You consider your answer, then say no. I got what I earned. She looks down at her shoes, then back up. Do you think I ever had a chance? That question stays in the air between you, complicated, tangled. Because the truth is, maybe. Maybe if she'd been honest. Maybe if she'd asked instead of taken. But that version of events never happened. You had a choice, you say gently. She nods. Yeah, I did. Your drinks arrive. She doesn't offer a goodbye, just walks into the drizzle latte, steaming head bowed. You stay behind watching her shrink into the gray. Back at your desk that afternoon, you open an old file. Not sunshine, not evidence. Just a roadmap you once sketched late at night, back when you still believed hard work was enough. You update it now, not with vengeance, with vision, because revenge doesn't last. But what you build after it, that's legacy. You sip your coffee. It's gone lukewarm, but you don't mind. You're still here, and for the first time, that feels like everything. There's no grand announcement, no banner hanging from the ceiling, no speech from the CEO. Just a quiet update to the org chart, and a Slack message that says, "Please welcome your name as our new head of strategy." You don't even reply to the thread. You just keep working, and yet something feels different. The meetings are quieter, yes, but they listen now. Not because you speak louder, but because you've earned their silence. You lead the quarterly planning like someone who's already survived the worst of the storm. Not arrogant, just steady. People trust you more than they say. They stop by your desk with ideas again. They ask for feedback. They want to be part of what you're building, not just stand near it. You begin mentoring one of the new analysts, a sharp kid who reminds you a little too much of yourself. Late nights, too many questions, eyes full of fuel and doubt. You tell them what no one told you. Don't let them decide your value for you. They nod. Write it down like scripture. You find a rhythm. You stop triple-checking your back. You walk into rooms without rehearsing your worth. And on Fridays you leave early. No more guilt. No more hunger for validation. You go home. Cook real food. Call your mom. Walk the neighborhood with your phone in your pocket instead of your hand. The company rolls on, but you move differently now. Not because you're watching your step, because you've laid the path yourself. No one handed you power. You earned it in pieces through grit restraint and the quiet resistance of not backing down. And now you hold it. You don't talk about what happened, not in meetings, not in reviews, not in interviews where new hires ask about what the culture is like. You let it lie, like old stone, weathered, permanent, silent. But traces of it live in your decisions. You give credit out loud. You ask the quiet ones for their thoughts. You don't humiliate in public even when someone fumbles. You've seen how easy it is to build a reputation on other people's effort, and how fast that house collapses. At the next all hands, the CEO gives a speech about earned trust and internal accountability. You recognize the language. It's yours. Words you drafted months ago in a doc you never thought anyone would read. No one names you, but they know. Later, someone you barely talked to, Logan from Revenue, catches you in the elevator. "I watched the whole thing," he says. "You didn't just survive it. You turned it." You smile quiet. I was tired of playing defense. He nods. You're playing chess now, huh? You don't correct him. You're not playing anything. You're building. And this time, it's not just for you. You get invited to a panel. It's hosted by a local startup incubator topic, navigating leadership in high-pressure environments. You almost say no. Public speaking isn't your favorite game, especially not when the subtext is, tell us how you outmaneuvered the CEO's daughter without losing your mind. But you say yes, not for the applause, for the message. The event is held in a glass-walled co-working space, half auditorium, half LinkedIn fever dream. The other panelists toss around phrases like disruption fatigue and radical candor. You wait. You listen. When your turn comes, you start soft. I used to think that if you worked hard enough, it would protect you, you say. That competence alone could be armor. I was wrong. A pause. In my case, the threat wasn't loud. It smiled. It shook hands. It gave presentations with my data and left my name off the slide. That gets attention. You don't go into detail. You don't name names. But you speak the truth in a language they recognize calm, clean, undeniable. Later a line forms to speak with you. A young founder says I thought I was crazy. This helps. A junior developer whispers, it's like you said the part I'm not allowed to. And that's when you realize your story stopped being about revenge a long time ago. Now it's about evidence, about narrative, about giving people a shape to see their own silence in. You leave the panel lighter. You didn't need to be the hero. You just needed to remind people that survival can be strategy. You start mentoring officially. It's not a company initiative. Just something you do. One person becomes 3, then 5. Soon your Thursday evenings are booked with quiet conversations over tea or video call stories that all echo the same refrain. I thought it was just me. You don't offer revenge blueprints. You don't teach them how to trap a fraud. What you give is subtler patterns, questions, strategies for being both visible and untouchable. You teach them to protect their own evidence, to document without drama, to breathe slowly when the room turns against them. One mentee tells you, I thought strength meant talking louder. You smile. Strength is knowing when silence holds more weight. The work doesn't fix the system. It doesn't erase what happened to you. But every time someone finds their voice, because you showed them the shape of resilience, something shifts. The tide pulls gently in your favor. Your calendar fills, but not with nonsense. Real decisions, product pivots, strategic direction. People ask for your input early now, not as an afterthought. And when you speak, they listen, not because you demand it, but because you've earned it. One afternoon, you're asked to review a hiring panel for a senior leadership role. The finalist is qualified on paper, polished, well-connected, but when you dig deeper, you see the sign's borrowed credit, suspicious timelines, too much sparkle, not enough substance. You quietly vote no. The panel follows your lead, and just like that, another would-be Ashley is turned away, not with a fight, but with discernment. You didn't just survive your story, you're writing its aftermath, one careful, powerful decision at a time. One night, much later, you dream of her, not in a vengeful way, not triumphant, just a hallway. Just her walking ahead of you, blurred around the edges like someone already fading. You wake up before she turns around. That morning, you're the first one in the office. Sunlight creeps in through the blinds. The quiet hum of servers is the only sound. You sit down, and for the first time in months, open the old draft of your resignation letter. The one you wrote in the middle of it all. The one titled simply, I'm done. You don't need it anymore, but you read it anyway. Each line is a fossil of a version of you who felt invisible, who thought the only way to survive was to disappear. You smile, then delete the file, not with bitterness, with finality. Outside, the city wakes up. You sip your coffee and look out at it not as someone who needs to escape it, but someone who's carved out space inside it. You survived the worst parts of ambition, and you didn't lose yourself to win. Later that day, your manager calls you into a meeting. It's not urgent, but it's important. There's an opportunity, she says. Executive strategy. Global. Big move. They want someone with quiet strength. You don't answer right away. You're not afraid of starting over. You're not chasing titles, but you also know your voice now, and the power of staying if you choose to stay on your terms. So you ask questions. You take your time. And when you walk out of the room, it's not just with an offer. It's with the knowledge that this time, you get to decide what you're walking toward, not just what you're walking away from. You take the job, not because it's shiny, not because it makes up for everything that came before, but because this time, you're walking into the room without needing to prove you belong in it. The new office is sleeker. The scope is broader. You oversee strategy across continents now. Meetings start earlier and end later. But strangely, you're less tired. Maybe it's because you've stopped bleeding energy trying to be seen. Now you're trusted before you speak. Your first big initiative is simple on the surface. Rebuild the performance framework. But beneath it lies a deeper truth. How do you measure success without inviting manipulation? How do you reward growth without glamorizing shortcuts? You write principles instead of rules. You invite feedback from every layer of the company, not just the glossy tier. And slowly, something rare begins to form culture, shaped by clarity, not charisma. One day, months into your new role, you get an email from a name you recognize. Ashley. The subject line is just, "Thank you." You hover over the trash button, but you don't press it. Instead, you open the message. I didn't understand the damage until after. I was too busy trying to win a game I didn't know how to play. But I see now. You never played. You built. I hope someday I can do the same. There's no ask. No apology, not exactly. But it doesn't matter. You close the email. You don't reply, because you've moved on. But you let the message sit in your inbox unread again. A reminder, not of her, but of you. Of the version of yourself that rose from beneath someone else's ambition and chose not just to survive, but to lead, quietly, permanently, powerfully. So now the fight is over. Not in some dramatic crescendo, but in the quiet aftermath. In the gentle choices made when no one was watching, when applause was absent, and the stakes felt personal, but invisible. You didn't just outlast the storm, you learned how to breathe through it. You outgrew the need for recognition from those who never truly saw you, from the shadows where your worth was quietly ignored. This peace you carry now isn't loud or flashy. It's steady and real. There are nights when memories drift past, soft and familiar, the echo of a meeting, the trace of a name. And you greet them not with bitterness, but with calm acceptance. Because you didn't arrive here by tearing others down or shouting the loudest. You came here by remembering yourself, by holding on to your truth when everything tried to silence it. The world once told you to shrink, to wait your turn to smile politely, while others took credit. But you chose to stay, to endure, to quietly gather evidence, strength, and patience. And when the moment came, you didn't need to yell. Your quiet resolve spoke volumes, because real power lives not in noise, but in the lasting impact of those who rebuild, who mentor without spotlight, who rewrite the rules, so the next person won't have to fight the same battles. Sometimes just lying still and breathing softly is enough. Enough to come home to yourself. Enough to know you are free.